So, I thought I'd start reminding people who maybe it's the first time you've come across Healthwatch Northumberland, to talk about what Healthwatch is. And that's the cover of our annual report this year. And I would ask you to remember the little thing down in the corner, because I will mention that later, about unlocking the power of people-driven care. It's a bit jargonistic for me, but you know, there we go, that's what we were given from on high, but it does have resonance when you look about what we've done. But we'll start reminding ourselves about what Healthwatch is. We are an organisation that was created in 2012 from the then Health and Social Care Act, to be an independent champion for people who use health and social care services. So no biggie, really, just the whole of health, everything from your local dentist, your local pharmacist, up to all of your tertiary services, your hospitals, everything, and social care on top, because they didn't think we had enough to do. But they're the things that we're supposed to do by law. We're supposed to support public involvement in services, to influence service providers to improve care, provide information and signposting, which Hugh mentioned, share insight nationally, because we are part of a network of health watches across England, and to hold commissioners and health and social care providers to account for how they involve the public, because they all have a duty to involve the public in what they do, and we're here to make sure they do it. Now, the golden thread that goes along the bottom there is the golden thread of what I call independent patient experience, because without that, it's just opinion. Without the feedback that we get from you all on a daily basis, we don't have anything to say, we can't say anything, because it's about you and your experiences. And what we find that gives us then is that we can then help provide openness and accountability in NHS and social services. So that's why we're here, so we will remember that. But the other thing I do need to remind people is that Healthwatch Northumberland is a project that is actually delivered by Adapt North East, and we have Liz at the back there, who I'm sure you've all known for many years, Liz Pudder. We are here and we do what we do because of the great grounding and the great wisdom that she has and the knowledge she has about health and social care services. So I'd just like to give Liz a great thanks from the front for today, because I don't know if you're all aware, but Liz will be stepping down, or has stepped down, however she wants to put it at the moment. But so thank you Liz, and if we could just give her a quick round of applause. That's not me not getting a good appraisal next week. Anyway, so we'll carry on to what have we done. I think I wanted to start off with things that people have said, because, as I said, unless people tell us things, both those who are using services and those who are buying and providing services, then we don't have a purpose. And there are some of the things that people have said. I think the top one for me is the most important. It was someone who was frustrated because they weren't being heard. They've got a chronic condition, they couldn't be heard, they couldn't get their point across. They came to us, I actually spoke to her on the phone, and we spent some time going through how she could get herself heard. And she actually got back to us and said, thank you, things have changed because of what you did. So basically that made it all worthwhile. But I think the commissioner and the provider quotes are always also very important, because again, that is the NHS, they were both NHS ones, that is the NHS saying, we needed you in this circumstance. So we'll come back to that, but I just thought it was worth, before I go into other things we've done, just saying that when you feed back to us, that's what happens. So these are the major projects that we have delivered in 2024-25. You've heard Hugh talk about the audiology service and the young people's mental health service, but they were the major pieces of work, and all of those things were sort of like the pearls on the string of all of the other things we do. So that is in addition to the 100 community events that we've held and we've attended this year, the 10,000 contacts on our website, and the 800 in-depth conversations about health and care services that we've had with people. So all of that has added up to everything that's in your report. But I'd like to go back to saying about how we managed to do that, because although the annual report shows how we have fulfilled our statutory functions, those 5 columns that we saw earlier, it also shows that the importance of having a space where everyone can speak up, even if they do sometimes feel a bit nervous about it, and that sometimes that takes a third party to help them affect the change they want. But I'd like to also, as Hugh said, and as Angela said, talk about our volunteers. Our volunteers have done a fantastic job for us, and there are some in the room today. I know they're being a bit shy, but they have given us 574 hours this year. And they've done a whole range of things, including being here, obviously. The weekly average hours they give us is 15, and that is the full-time equivalent of another half-time post. So we are a very small team. There's 6 of us, 4.8 full-time equivalent for the whole of Northumberland, so no biggie. But that's another half post that our volunteers are giving to us. And a living wage rate, that's another full-time annual value of just under £10,000. So our volunteers are incredibly valued incredible value in everything they do. I want to talk a little bit about the audiology project that we did, because the quotes earlier that I showed you highlighted that although that provider knew there were problems with the service, coming out of the pandemic, or even going into the pandemic as well, they knew that there were problems with the service. But it took a long time, over 5 years, I know we had a pandemic in the middle of it, with 2 reports from us and dogged determination by us to get the patient experience of people in Northumberland who are using audiology services heard, and then working with the Integrated Care Board to get change. That's a long time. But those problems were known, and that's the thing I keep hanging on to. That working together, we actually did get a response. Newcastle Hospitals developed an action plan in response to the things we highlighted and worked with us, and they want to work with us further on ongoing patient engagement. One of the things I'm really pleased about is that the Trust has engaged the Royal National Institute of the Deaf to do sessions at local clinics, starting in Corbridge. Now, this was one of our really big recommendations that we pushed for in the report, because when we talked to people, when people fed back to us, it was the thing they valued and missed above all, not having to go into the Freeman to get the batteries in their hearing aids changed. And it was such an important thing, and we welcomed the fact that Newcastle Hospitals recognised that and are putting something in its place. I'd also like to highlight that the work that we did with the QE High School here in Hexham, that those students gave us a valuable insight into their views on mental health services and how young people view mental health services, and our thanks to the school for working with us to allow us to work with their students, and to the students themselves, to Matthew, Angelina, Oscar, Amelie and Hadi. They did an amazing report. The professionalism and insight that their work gathered about mental health services is outstanding, and it's an exemplary example of public engagement. And I'm sure it won't mind, you would have seen it in the report, but Matthew actually used this experience at Healthwatch Northumberland as part of his university entrance, and he said that his interviewers were very excited about that, and that's why we think he's now studying medicine. So we're claiming that as an impact. So we are hoping to, and I know that the Director of Children and Young People at Northumberland Council was very impressed with that piece of work, and we're hoping to work with her to extend the work into Blythe this year. So I think, they are 2 examples, but I think the other thing that we would mention, as Hugh mentioned, is the work on the Adult Social Care People's Panel, and I know Debbie down the front, who you'll hear from later, attended the panel last month. They have been a great asset to adult social care function, helping the department develop training, information and services. The panel is made up of people who use adult social care or are carers for people who use adult social care. They have the granular, everyday experience of what it means to be someone who relies on social care services. And boy, are they happy to share that experience. Again, as Debbie will, very happy to talk to Debbie. One of the things they did was they actually went along to a staff training day in Shirley, I think as part of the Care Academy. They actually went along and talked about their experiences. And that's invaluable, because the people that you are helping to train and develop to deliver social care have heard directly what it is, what people expect, and how they can do that. So that's last year, as I said. Read all about it. So this is what we'll be delivering in 2026. These are the main projects that we are looking to develop, with or without the sheep. I'm not quite sure, but I just love that photograph. Moving into 2026 will be tough. As Hugh alluded to, fundamental changes are ahead for Healthwatch, and uncertainty is destabilising. We can't get away from that. But what I'm saying to you here, as I stand here today with the team, the volunteers, the board, what our commitment to you, in the people of Hexham and Northumberland, is that we will fulfil our statutory functions. We will tweak them as necessary, but we will be holding services and commissioners to account, and we will do so, as we've always done, in partnership, recognising our respective roles and the challenges we each face. Until change happens, we will continue to do the things that you have heard, the online sessions, the hear-to-hear sessions, all the reports. What I would say is that those things there are things that you bring up. These are not things that we've sat around in the office and gone, you know what, it'd be good if we could do something about X, Y, or Z. These are things that you are telling us. The access to GP services is absolutely a top issue, along with dentistry. But what we want to do with the GP access issue is to look at where digital access to GP services is working well. We know it doesn't work for everyone. We know everyone can't do it. But why is it working well somewhere and not somewhere else is what we need to know, because what we want is the tide to rise for everybody. We know from the 10-year plan, and I'm sure Joe will talk about this more, digital is going to become a greater part of services. It's going to happen, and we just need to be sure that everyone can do that and isn't going to be left behind. I don't know if you're aware, but obviously dentistry is a big issue. We hear about it a lot. Now there's a dental access recovery plan in place, which is delivering at the moment. There's a new strategy, and I don't know if you know, but there's a new urgent access centre here in Hexham. We've heard about it recently. So again, that is something we're going to be wanting to hear from you all about in the next year, because we want to know how that's working. Is it delivering? Is it actually doing what it's meant to be doing? So that's the main things we'll be doing, and we'll be doing all the other things. We will also work with the other 12 Healthwatch in the North East and North Cumbria, because that's the sort of footprint that the health service is based on. The reason that we do that is because it is so important that a combined community voice is heard by the largest health structure in England and is heard at the highest levels. The North East and North Cumbria Integrated Care Board is the largest structure of its kind, which is basically the building block of the NHS now. And we have the largest one in the North East and Cumbria. So, that's really important. And you'll have seen earlier in the week, we've also got the highest performing general trust as well in the area as well, which is, I think, quite interesting. But we want to make sure that that community voice gets fed up through that and influences change. We've also written to Sir Jim Mackey, who, as some of you may know, is the former Chief Executive Officer of Northumbria Healthcare and now head of NHS England. Another local lad, done good, so along with Joe there. So what we're doing in both of those circumstances, we are feeding up your experience and what's happening to you and how services are working, but we're also offering our help and expertise in shaping what comes next, because that is really, really important. Whatever it is that comes next must prove the importance of speaking up. and the ability for individual patients and service users to speak up. Because to make people-driven care a reality, I told you I'd come back to it, because it's not institutions or systems that make change happen. And it's not it's not institutions or systems that make care better. It's people. At the end of the day, it's you. So keep doing what you're doing, keep talking to us, and we'll make sure that you are heard. Thank you.